Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, we've got another pistol video for you here, and this one's going to be another comparison video. We recently heard from a viewer, and I've actually had more than one request for this, but this particular individual is a longtime Glock fan, has recently picked up a Glock 48. After spending some time with it, she feels like that the thinner, easier to carry Glock 48 is superior in every way to the Glock 19. Wants a second opinion about the role of the Glock 19 going forward. Well, never one to shy away from a challenge. We are going to take a look at both offerings from Glock and see if we can answer those questions in just a minute. Alright, once again, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, or if you've been watching our videos and just haven't had a chance to do so yet, and you like our content, please consider subscribing. You can find the little button there in the lower right-hand corner of your computer screen, or if you're on a mobile device, you can scroll down below the video and hit the subscribe button there. It's a simple thing that helps us out a lot, and we really, really appreciate it. So, Glock 19 versus the Glock 48. Alright, I think the best way to do this, first, let's just talk about specs. Both of these pistols are obviously, they're Glocks, they're striker-fired 9mm semi-automatic handguns. And for the purpose of this comparison, this Glock 19 is a Gen 4. The Gen 5 isn't that much different. It has the flat, grip on the front without the finger grooves, like the 48. But they're close enough in overall dimensions to each other, the 5 and the 4. I'm just going to use the 4 because I've got it handy. So let's talk about the big differences. Well, the biggest ones are going to come down to two things. The first thing, we're going to do a quick safety check here. You can see that this Glock 19 is empty. You can see all the way through, empty magazine. Well, you can see that this is a 15-round magazine. Okay. Well, let's take a look at our 48. Same thing, let's do a safety check here. You can see that we are empty. Okay, you can see all the way through that. And if you look at this magazine, you see that's a single stack 10-round magazine. Alright, so obviously, if you're the kind of individual that is really, really hung up on capacity, and that's okay, we're all different, then you probably wouldn't think that that's a good thing, going from this to this. Personally, I think 10 rounds, and in one the chamber is 11, I think 10 rounds is plenty of capacity for a carry gun, just because I'm a guy that doesn't mind carrying a 5-shot revolver. I'm hopeful that if I'm ever in that situation, which I hope I'm never going to be, that I'm not going to need that much ammunition to resolve the problem if it comes up in the first place. But that's just me. Plus, if you follow the data on these type of encounters, it points to a history of needing much less capacity than that overall. Now, once again, you have to do what you're comfortable with. So if 15 plus 1 makes you feel more comfortable, then that's exactly what you need to do, because comfort and confidence is one of the big keys to being a responsible, concealed carry participant in the first place. So aside from capacity, let's look at a few other things. So, Glock 19, the length between the Glock 19 and the Glock 48 are very close. The overall length is 185 millimeters or 7.28 inches on both. Now, the barrels are slightly different. You actually have a slightly longer barrel on the 48 than you do on the 19, by just a hair. The height of the two firearms is identical. They're the exact same height. The width is slightly different. The width on the Glock 48 is 28 millimeters or 1.10 inches. The Glock 19 is 32 millimeters or 1.26 inches. That doesn't sound like a lot, but by the time it's in a holster and you have the firearm on your person, it can make a difference as to how that feels. So, looking them over, like I say, the overall dimensions are so close. Let me kind of give you a overhead side by side here so you can take a look at this. Okay, if you take the two weapons and you look at them just like that, all right, like we said, a lot of these dimensions are very close. Now, the grip from front to back is going to be a bit thicker on the Glock 19 versus the 48. But virtually every other major dimension on the firearm is pretty close, except, once again, the width. So it's just a standard, to me, if you're the kind of person that wants to keep a more narrow firearm, obviously the 48, you can look at them side by side, and you can see that the 48 is a little bit more narrow than the Glock 19. Now, what I like to do at this point is kind of get into the feel of how these two firearms are by comparison. So if we look at how they feel, let's take them one at a time. Glock 19. I've always really liked the Glock 19. I have a lot of different kinds of firearms, you know, everything from nice 1911s to little pocket guns and everything in between. And you know, there are some people that absolutely hate Glocks. They hate the, you know, the angle. They hate everything about them. And I get that. Just like there's other people who hate 1911s, and you know, you're never going to make everybody happy. But personally, I think that the Glock 19 is a very comfortable weapon to hold. It's a very easy weapon to get proficient with. And to me, the width is not an issue. Obviously, I know I'm carrying a double stack, a larger firearm when I have this in the holster versus something like the 48. But to me, it's not really an issue. What would be more of an issue is the weight, because you don't really think about it. But 5 rounds, there is a difference in weight between, you know, a 10-round magazine and a 15-round magazine. And if you've carried firearms for any length of time at all, you know that as the weight starts going up, and even with a good belt, you got to watch out for your holster and your firearm tending to want to sag on you if you get too much weight involved. But as far as how it feels, very comfortable. It's an extremely ergonomic firearm, and I have absolutely no issues carrying a 19 with confidence. Now, the other part of this, of course, is how it shoots. Glock 19 is one of the easiest to shoot firearms that I've ever owned. And, you know, this is not a gun that I would say that is my most accurate shooting gun. It's very good. I would have no issues at all. If I was trying to demonstrate my shooting ability, I wouldn't be afraid to do it with a Glock 19. But if I was trying to show you my very, very best, I'd probably have something like a 1911 to do that, because I'd want something that's a little more precise consistently. But the Glock 19 is a very good firearm, and it serves a very good purpose, I think. So let's look at the 48 the same way. Now, a lot of people are going to say automatically, well, this is better because it's smaller and it's easier to conceal and it's more comfortable to hold. Well, when I pick this firearm up and I put it in my hand, I do admit my hand does cover the weapon a little bit easier, a little bit more completely. But I'm not going to say that it's better, though. In a way, I kind of wish that the 48 had the finger grooves from the Gen 4 Glock 19. It's not a deal breaker for me, but I like the idea of having a dedicated place for my fingers in the grip. I just enjoy that. Doesn't make that much difference overall, but and I think the texture is good on the grip on the 48, so it's not like it's an uncertain or an unsecure grip. I think it feels pretty good overall. But since it's a little bit smaller, it does feel a little bit different when the time I have my hands closed around the weapon. And I'm not sure whether it's a better feel or not. It's just different. But I definitely know that I'm carrying a smaller gun. I definitely feel a lighter gun. And when I shoot the 48 does behave a little bit differently when I shoot it than the Glock 19 does. It does shoot well. It's extremely reliable. But the firearm tends to be just a hair more flippy than the Glock 19 is. And the obvious reasons for that is it's a little bit smaller firearm, it's a little bit lighter, and obviously the way it behaves in your hand is like any other smaller, lighter firearm. You're going to have a little more, reaction in your hand, a little more recoil from the weapon. It's going to be a little more flippy, just by nature of it being a little bit lighter and thinner weapon. Is that a big deal? Not really. It's not a big deal as far as I'm concerned, but it's just something to be aware of. I've shot this firearm a lot, and I can tell you that I really enjoy shooting it, about as much as I do the Glock 19, but it's hard for me to say which one is better. I don't think there's really a better. It kind of comes down to what your preferences are, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But overall, it's going to come down to comfort. I think is a big one. The Glock 19's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit heavier. The Glock 48's a little bit thinner, and it's a little bit lighter. Because it's thinner and lighter, it does shoot just a little differently than the Glock 19. But to me, they're both easy to carry, and they're both comfortable. A couple of additional considerations you might want to think about also. We mentioned, obviously, the biggest differences between these are going to come down to, the overall dimension, size, and the weight, obviously. But there's a couple of other things that you might want to consider. And these aren't deal breakers to me, but it depends on the role of the firearm. So the Glock 19, you do have an accessory rail, you can see. And if you're the type of individual that likes to have lights or lasers on your firearm, then this might make a difference to you. I usually don't do that on carry guns, but I can see that definitely on, say, a home defense gun if you want, say, a light laser combination on the front, that type of thing. The other thing, of course, is you do have the changeable back straps on the Glock 19. For me, this is kind of a big deal, and let me explain why. So, hands. People have different size hands. I've got medium to large hands, and I like smaller firearms, but if I'm carrying something, I like to feel like I've got a good solid grip on the gun. And sometimes if you have a larger hand, finding a place for all of that hand to go can be a challenge. Now this isn't bad, but I think that I would actually like it a little bit better if I had a little bit more meat on the grip there. With the Glock 19, of course, on this Gen 4, I can add these back straps to get the thickness that I like. And for me, the addition of that panel really makes a huge difference in how solid of a feel that I have on this firearm. I just really like that option. And of course, I am a fan of the finger grooves. Now, obviously, Glock seems to be moving back in the no finger groove direction because the Gen 5 Glock 19, of course, doesn't have the grooves. And like I said, that's just a personal opinion, but you've got both of them out there, so you can get whichever one you like. But it's always good to just consider those kinds of things, because depending on what you like and what role the gun's going to be used in, that might matter. So getting to the question that kind of drove the whole comparison to start with, looking at whether the Glock 19 has, got a role going forward as a result of the Glock 48 existing, well, yeah, absolutely. I don't think that the 48 has anything to do with whether the Glock 19 is going to be relevant going forward. And I'll tell you why. I think that these two handguns are for two different kinds of people, and let me explain what I mean by that. So, the Glock 19 is a very popular firearm, like I say. There's not too many people who don't recognize this gun. I've carried this firearm numerous times, years and years and years, and I've also carried the 40 caliber counterpart to this, which is the Glock 23, and I think it's a great weapon. And with a good holster, you can carry this and be perfectly comfortable all day long. I think it needs to be a holster with something with 2 belt clips and some coverage. I prefer the crossbreed Super Tuck, which is this holster here. As you can see, you've got this nice cowhide, and you've got dual clips. It's Kydex, and of course you've got protection there from the back of the firearm against the body. I think these are great. And you can tell by the amount of wear on this holster, it's nice molded to the body, that this has spent a lot of time in use. And I think that it's a great carry gun. I think it's a great overall firearm, good home defense gun. There's not too many things to me the Glock 19 doesn't do well. Well, when I look at the Glock 48, to me, this is more of a compact gun because it's a slim single stack. And I kind of divide my guns into two categories, big guns and small guns. And really, to me, there's no in between. A gun like this, like the 48, is single stack. This is light enough to where I can't exactly pocket carry this one because it's a little bit longer in the grip and in the slide than I would really pocket carry. But I would carry it probably in, like a single clip holster. I wouldn't feel like I need a really elaborate holster for something like this. Just something to secure it to the belt with minimal retention. That's just me. And because it's a smaller, lighter firearm, this is probably something that I would put inside my briefcase. Keep handy, concealed somewhere nearby. It's just a smaller, lighter, easier to pack up gun. So if you're the kind of person that's interested in keeping it smaller, well, then, this might be a good answer for you. I think it's a well-designed gun. Everything from the front and rear serrations to the feel of the grip, even though I personally wouldn't mind some finger grooves in there. I think it's a well-designed gun. I think it serves a purpose, and I think with night sights on it like this one's equipped, I think it ticks all the boxes as far as being a good choice for carry. But I think that the Glock 19 is not only a good choice for carry, but it's a good choice for just about anything else. So if you can buy one handgun and have it be a good home defense gun, a good go to the woods gun, a good practice and sport shooting gun, and a good concealed carry firearm, then I don't see any reason why the 19 would ever become irrelevant, and I don't think it ever will. So, if you want the answer to the question, I think they're two good guns that serve two different purposes, and I don't think the Glock 19 is going anywhere. So hopefully, for those of you who may have had those same thoughts in your head, maybe that gives you something else to think about. But they're both great firearms, but the Glock 19 is one of the greatest little polymer handguns I think that's ever been made, and I think we'll be seeing it around for a long time with more improvements from Glock down the road. So anyway, well, that's going to do it for today. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We'll be back soon with another video for you. So until that time, as always, be careful out there and have a great day. Thank you.